Hey everyone, I'm Paul with MadCap Software and welcome to Flare 2021. In this video, I am going to talk you through the new stuff that we've added in this version of Flare, and here it is. You might want to pause the video at this point and just kind of look through these. Maybe there are some things that you want to skip past, and this tells you where to go if you want to do that. Otherwise, you can just watch the whole video from beginning to end. Now, I'm going to begin with some changes that we made to the start page, some start page redesign work. And so let's go into Flare and I'll show you what that's all about. So here is what the start page looks like now. The first thing you're going to notice is this big old banner way across the top, and this will open automatically if you're in a 90-day window of your Flare maintenance or subscription coming to an end, or if you're on a trial license, this will show up too, and it shows you how many days you have left. Like here in this example, I'm on a maintenance license and I've got 7 days remaining, and I can just click contact sales and quickly renew. So you don't have to wonder how much time do I have left? What do I do about it? It's just right there. Now, the other stuff about the start page are these options down on the left. You can see your work is selected right now. That just means recent files or recent projects are showing, and this is the same UI as before. Resources opens this view, and you can see these tiles, so you can access things like the help and special promotions and training and news and updates and all that stuff. Open and new project, those are the same as they've been for a while. And the other thing to show you is that if you happen to be on a smaller screen and open up Flare, the interface is responsive. So the banner comes down here to the bottom and the options are up here on the top, and it just makes it easier to work with on a small screen. So those are the changes in the start page. The next thing I want to talk about is Markdown Import. At MadWorld, at our last MadWorld in Ireland, we had lots and lots of people coming up to us and asking us when we might be supporting importing Markdown documents. And so R&D got on top of that, and now we have it. So Markdown is something that a lot of companies use. They might have people outside of their documentation group, subject matter experts or software developers, and they're writing these Markdown documents, which is a plain formatting syntax. It's basically just text files. And the Flare author wants to take those Markdown documents, bring them into the Flare project without having to do a bunch of copying and pasting and reformatting. And so the import wizard lets you do that. Now, Markdown, you'll notice Markdown, you'll recognize it when you see one of these documents open in a text editor. Common Mark is the most popular flavor of Markdown, and Flare supports that entirely. So in this case, you might see for example, some hashtags next to text, and that represents headings, or some asterisks around words, and that might stand for these are things that should be bold or italic. And it goes on and on and on like that. And Flare now recognizes this markup in these Markdown documents and is able to bring them in so that you don't have to do that copying and repasting and formatting. So let's go into Flare and I'll take you through the wizard. So when you import files into Flare, there's usually multiple ways to do it. You can open up the Windows Explorer and just click and drag the files into the Content Explorer, and it'll launch the wizard for you. Or you can come up here to the File ribbon or File dropdown, select New Project, and then down here, Markdown Documents. That'll open up the wizard so you can create a brand new project by importing those things. Or you can do what I'm going to do here, come into the project ribbon, select import and Markdown documents. This opens up the wizard, and because I have a project open already, it automatically selects import into this project. So I could do that, or I could select this up here and say, no, I want to create a new project and import these and give it a name, select my main output type. But I'll just select import into this project. And then I can tell Flare, hey, I just want these to come in at the root in the Content Explorer, or I can click this button and select a specific folder where I want these things to be stored. Then you come down to the bottom and you select what Markdown documents you want. And Markdown documents have an MD file extension. That's how you know they're Markdown documents. You can select add folder, choose a folder, and all the Markdown documents in it will be added, or you can click add file. And in this case, I've got 3 of them in here. I navigated here to where I've got Markdown documents. I held down my control key, selected 2 of these, click open, and here they are. Now you can select these and use the arrow buttons to move them up and down, which will affect their placement in the TOC when they are imported. So that's pretty easy over there. Then I can select styles on the left and deal with styles. So up at the top, you've got this associated style sheet field, and that's just in case you have this extra style sheet and you want to leverage the styles in there. You want to be able to map to those. A lot of people maybe won't use this at all. And so if you're not sure about it, you can just ignore it. Down below is where you map your styles, and you may or may not need to do something with that. I'm going to collapse these so you can see there's 4 different categories here. There are block styles, which means these are things that take up all the space on a line, like headings and paragraphs and stuff like that. Lists, bulleted, numbered list, definition lists. If you're using those, you can bring those in. And then inline, which is just character level formatting, like hyperlinks and emphasis and so on. I'm going to expand block and show you that, all right, you've got your markdown styles here on the left, and then in the middle, you've got what it's going to be once they come into Flare. And usually these are just kind of lined up the way that you want. Heading 1 goes with H1, heading 2 goes with H2. Code blocks, they will become by default code snippets, which is really cool. But you could select a drop down and choose something else if you want. But you might just find that these are set just the way that you want. And the other thing you want to pay attention to is this column on the right, start new topic on. So you got these markdown documents, and it could be relatively long. Maybe you want to break that up on the import at certain places so that you have multiple topics, not just one topic that results from that. And most people will do this at the heading level. So H1, heading 1 is already selected. It's going to start a new topic anytime it comes across an H1. Maybe you want to select H2 and do it there too. It's up to you. Finally, over on the left, advanced options. So this is, there are a variety of things in here that you can further specify how you want this, your documents to be imported. So up at the top, create a new style sheet. Well, so when you import, you can tell Flare, hey, I just want a brand new style sheet created as a result of this import, and all of these styles that are associated with the markdown, we're going to put them in there. Or you can deselect it, and then they'll just kind of be merged into your main project style sheet when you do the import. Now, all of these fields have these little icons next to them. If you're not sure what something's about, just click that. It gives you a little bit more information, or you can click the extra icon in here. It'll open up the topic and maybe give you some images and examples, things like that. I do want to point out the resources section down here, because Markdown allows you to link to other files, maybe images. And so you might be importing Markdown file that has that. Well, what you can do is select this and then tell Flare, okay, include these and put them here. You can put them in your resources folder, or you can select here and choose a different folder where you want those things to go. But here's the thing, if you are going to do that, you want to make sure that those files, those images or whatever, are located on your personal, locally on your computer, on your machine. Otherwise, they're not going to be brought in as a part of the import. Tables, you might have markdown documents that have some table formatting. So how do you want to bring those in? Do you want to just bring those tables in so that they're just plain? Well, you can just leave it at this on this setting, or you can select apply a selected table style sheet, because maybe you already have a table style sheet in your project and you just want that table style sheet to be applied to all of those new tables coming in so they have the look and feel. So it's up to you whether you want to do that. Again, click the icons next to any of these to read more about them. And then you just click finish, and then another dialog comes up, and you review it and click accept, and it brings them in. So it's pretty simple. We'll bring in all those markdown documents, have them formatted just the way that you want. So it saves you a whole bunch of time and work. Okay, up next is a brand new feature that we call the Layout Resizer, and you can see this at the top of the XML editor. Now, This particular feature is something that people who are using media queries and are familiar with media queries, they're more likely to use this thing. And it's not something that you're probably going to use every day all the time, but when you want to work with media queries and format your layouts, this can be really, really handy. So let's open up Flare and take a look at this feature. Okay, I have a topic open here, and I've changed the resolution because we need to see more of the screen. So hopefully you don't need binoculars to see all of the details in this. So got a topic open here. And if I want to use the layout resizer, what I do, it's off by default because like I said, you're not going to use this every day. But when you do want to use it, you come down here to the bottom toolbar and this button on the far right, you click that and you see this slider open up here at the top. That is the layout resizer. And you can also open up your ruler if you want to see units of measurement next to that. That can be handy. So down here on the bottom, I'll select this horizontal ruler and it's set on pixels right now. And so you might want to do that. Okay, so with media queries, what we're talking about are different widths of that you could possibly have for your output or different devices. So a big screen, a big monitor, or a tablet, or a mobile device. And in Flare, there are a couple of media queries. There's tablet and mobile that are just baked into the interface, and you set those at on the target. Well, these little tiny rectangles in here represent your media queries. They'll represent these baked in tablet and mobile media queries, plus any other custom media queries that you add. So you can see that this is around, it's around 1279, or somewhere around there. The tablet one is, and then the mobile's around 767. Okay, so what you can use this for is to experiment with different sizes. And so you can see, we've got this blue thing right here, and we call this a thumb. And you can, as you click anywhere in the interface, like you can click on one of your breakpoints, and that the blue thumb is sort of behind that rectangle, but you can click anywhere in here and experiment, like I clicked right here. So the blue thumb is just temporary. It's just letting you experiment, see what things will look like if you had a certain width set. So you might want to do this so in order to adjust maybe your mobile or your tablet breakpoints. Maybe you want your tablet breakpoint to be just a little bit lower, so you can click in here and see, oh yeah, maybe I want it to be that size. You can see over on the right, this text box shows you that's at 1255 pixels. So you could then go into your target and reset your breakpoint to that. You can't reset an existing media query breakpoint in here, but at least you can see how it all looks. Now, another thing I want to show you, point out here, is that these drop downs up here on the toolbar, the layout drop down and the medium drop down, are tied to what you do in the layout resizer. So I selected something that was at the tablet breakpoint or lower down, just before the mobile one. And so it changed to tablet, and the medium changed to tablet. Now, if I come down here and I click at the mobile breakpoint or somewhere below, this is going to change to mobile. But this also will show check marks next to all the styles, all the media queries where styles come into play. So here it's selecting not just mobile, but tablet as well, because in this example, if you come way out to the outside, you're going to see, oh, the content looks, the color looks different. But if I come in here to tablet or lower and I click that, oh, now it's green heading and green text. So that is just an override that I did at the tablet media query. Now, if I come down to, and so look in the medium drop down, it just says tablet. But if I come down here to the mobile one, oh, now things have changed. I've got this red heading, so with the green text, looks like Christmas in here. And the red font for the heading, that's coming from the mobile media query, but I still have the green text, and that's coming from the tablet media query. So it's showing you all the stuff kind of combined. So that's kind of cool. Now, not only can you just experiment with this on your existing media queries, but you can create a new media query on the fly, and that is really, really cool. This is something that I could have used a few years ago when I was looking at creating a new really small media query, and it had to do with our dynamic help window pane. I'll open that, and you can see how narrow this is. It's really, really narrow. It's smaller than smartphones, unless you got a phone from like the year 2000 when they were really, really tiny. So I wanted my text to be smaller. I wanted some other things to be different. And at the time, of course, I didn't have this layout resizer. I just sort of had to create my media query in the style sheet and do some settings and then come back and look in the preview or build the output and see how it looked. And I thought, well, this would be really nice if it was just in the interface and I could see this. And so now we have the layout resizer. So I know that this dynamic help window pane is about 350 pixels. So what I could have done back then is I could have come in here and clicked around that. There, I got it right on 350 pixels. If you don't get it exactly, you can come over to the right and type it in. Use this field over here on the right. So it's there, and I could go, oh, okay, yeah, that's the right size. And then over on the far right, you see these series of 3 dots. Click that and select Add New Media Query. This dialog comes up. Now, it's a media query. It's already got the settings in it. You don't want to really change anything in here. You could change, which style sheet it's going to, but you're probably just going to say, okay. And as soon as I do that, now I'll click off of that. And you can see now I've got a new little gray rectangle. So I've got a new breakpoint. I've got this small size in here. And I'll select that. It snaps to that deal. I'm going to save because I'm always paranoid about things. And so now what I can do is I can go into my style sheet and I can just adjust the styles. So I've got my style sheet right here. I'm going to click it and open it. And what you're going to see are I already had my media queries open, so they're side by side. I've got my default one, I've got my tablet media query, there's mobile, and there's the brand new one. It automatically opened it up. And I'm going to go over here on the right, and I've got my P style selected. I'm going to expand font. So you can see that I've got 14 points set on my default medium, and it just gets inherited all the way down. But down here, maybe I don't want it to be 14 points. I want it to be 11 points. So I'll just type that in and I'll save, and I can just quickly come back here to the topic, and you can see the text is smaller. So that's really cool, really nice to be able to see exactly what you're going to get. Now, one other thing besides just text, notice that I have I've got what's called a responsive layout in here. That's why you see the text over on the left and the image on the right. There's different ways to do this, but I used a responsive layout. And if you're interested in doing something like that, it's here on the home ribbon, responsive layout. Don't really want to, go in and try to explain that in this video, but that's what I did here. So this layout resizer can be really, really useful for looking at responsive layouts as well as other things. So in this case, my responsive layout, I've got 2 cells, text on the left and image on the right. And that's the way it's set way out here on my default on those styles. So I can come into tablet, and again, it is still side by side. It's pretty much the same layout. But if I come down to mobile, okay, now they're stacked one on top of each other, and that's really nice. And then if I come down to my new media query down here, they're still stacked, but maybe I've got content in here and it doesn't quite look right. Maybe because of the narrowness, I need to make an adjustment to something in here. So that's really cool. Now, once you've experimented with this and you've got things, kind of all over the place, maybe what you want to do is just go, I just want to be back where I was, reset. So what I would probably do is come way out here on the outside, click, and then from the 3 dots, select reset slider, and now you're back exactly where you began. Now you could come in here lower and select this and select reset slider. That's fine, but you got to remember also to come up here and select this to web layout mode. That's the only thing about that. And then you can turn these things off. I'll turn off my ruler and I'll turn off my layout resizer, And this is exactly where we started. So that is the layout resizer. Again, not something that you'll use every day, but boy, when you need to work with media queries, how handy can this be? Now, the next thing that's new in Flare 2021 is PDF UA accessibility. So if you're generating PDF documents and you need to make sure that they're accessible, in other words, you have an audience of people who might have disabilities and they need to use a screen reader, and you need to make sure that this is UA compliant, UA meaning universal accessibility. Well, we made some changes in Flare. Some of these changes were made behind the scenes and some of them were made in the interface. So some of the things you don't need to do anything about. The behind the scenes stuff is things that our developers did, having to do a lot of them with proxies, the way that they were being handled in the PDF outputs. And people would open up a PDF checker, accessibility checker. There's all kinds on the market. And when you open this up, if you did this before, you might notice a lot of problems, red maybe, in the interface, and it says, hey, you're not compliant. And now, because of the changes that were made behind the scenes, these things are taken care of. So they are compliant. But we've also made a few other changes that you as the author can do in the interface to make sure that you're fully compliant for UA. So let's look at those. So the first thing I want to show you is in the PDF target. You come down to PDF options and you scroll down a little bit in here. Let me get this. There it is. Right here, generate tag document for PDF UA. There's that new checkbox. You want to make sure it's selected, and that way you're going to be generating a PDF document that's tagged and appropriate for UA. Okay, so that's real easy, and I think it's probably even selected by default. The other thing that we've added are that it has to do with links. So hyperlinks, text hyperlinks, or cross-references. And you open up one of those because you want to insert one of those things, and you're going to notice a new alternate text field. Well, you want to make sure that you put content in there whenever you have a link so that it is compliant. So those are just a couple of quick things that we did in the UI that the author can handle. So between all of the stuff we did behind the scenes and the things we did in the interface, you should now be able to open up a PDF accessibility checker and see that everything is 100% compliant. Okay, now the next thing I want to talk about are images coming in from Central when you do topic reviews. A lot of people might be using MadCap Central as part of this review process. So they send Flare topics and snippets out to people to review on MadCap Central. And previously, people doing those reviews on Central, they couldn't add images, but now they can. And when you bring those files back into Flare, now you're going to see those images in there. And a Flare author opening up those reviewed files, it's just like all the other content that someone might add. It's tracked and you have to accept or reject them. But here's the thing, when you accept the topic back into Flare, the reviewed topic, you're all done, and it replaces the old one, well, the images are separate files, so those are added separately into Flare. Now, where are they added? Flare by default will add those into your Content Explorer under Resources Images. If you don't have that folder, Flare will add it for you automatically. And if you happen to have a conflict where you already have an image that has the same name and it's in the same place, then you'll be able to open up this wizard real easily and tell Flare, hey, I want to rename it rename the incoming file to something else or put it in another location. And even if you don't have conflicts, once you bring those images back in to Flare, you can just move them wherever you want. Okay, the next thing we want to talk about for Flare 2021 is FrameMaker 2020 support. And there's really not a lot to talk about there. It's just that now that when you import FrameMaker 20 or FrameMaker documents into Flare, we now support 2020. So that's good. And the final thing I want to bring up is something that we've done in the table style editor, an enhancement. So it's easier to show you what this is. Let's go into Flare. All right, so I have my project open. I'm going to go down here to Resources and Table Styles and open up this table style sheet. And you're going to see it right away if you're used to table styles. The divider is now vertical instead of horizontal. So you can just click that and drag it. So the settings are on the left, the preview is on the right. Previously it was horizontal. So I think this is an improvement. I like it. I think it's just easier to work with it. All right, and that pretty much does it for the new features in Flare 2021. I hope you enjoy them. That's going to do it for this movie. Thank you for watching. We'll talk to you next time.